News headlines should connect directly to the world model, currently world model 4. But does reading the news really tell us what we think it does? Does it tell us what's going on out there? Yes and no. This is Retrace, segment number 29, Tuesday, October 25th, 2022 at 11:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Retrace is about what's going on out there. Today, again, we're going to read the news. Let's talk about secrecy. The first rule of secrecy is nothing on paper. That comes from Powers, talking about Richard Helms. So if there are any humans keeping secrets out there, we're not going to read about them in the news. That's important to remember. You might get the feeling that you're reading secrets, and circumstances can reveal secrets, and maybe we're clever and maybe we can put the dots together. But in general, if you have a brain cell in your head and you're trying to keep a secret, you should not be writing anything down. Or not the crown jewels, the crux of it, not the most important stuff. But the thing is about paper, you need it like humans need it to do secret-y stuff. So you got to write something down. Just don't write down the most important stuff. The news is at least three things. It's an answer on offer to the question of what's going on out there, especially like right now. It's an attempt to capture your attention at the same time. And it's a strong indicator of what people around you are or will be talking about. Let's keep those things in mind. We'll also keep in mind our 8 M's cheat sheet: medium, message, math, matter, money, motives, makers, masters, and that's 8 while we read the news. Now, can you see my news websites? Starting with the New York Times, right? Obligatory New York Times. Why not? We're going to go through a few sources here just to see what happens. I've glanced through these. I kind of know what's on the home pages, and we're going to see how they connect to the world model. The New York Times, Fox News, Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, BBC News, Vice, and TMZ. Now, these are spanning a bit of the spectrum. You've got generalist sources like the Times and Fox, business, which is the Financial Times and Wall Street Journal, generalist global perspective, the BBC News. It's hard to get a global, really good global generalist source better than the BBC, but you know, every source has its problems. Vice is, man, they've done a lot of cool stuff. I have to, I don't read or watch a lot of the stuff you don't read at all, Fox News and Vice, and I don't know, but I don't consume these sources as often as I do the Times and the business press. But if we want to go, I mean, if we're talking about what's going on out there, it should, everything should connect to the world model. Otherwise, it's not a world model. It's it's something that's not. And TMZ, isn't that like a good Hollywood? The Hollywood Reporter is supposed to be, they've broken some stuff too. And some freaky stuff happens in Hollywood, like important stuff. I'm not going to get into that now, but anyway, let's get started. Homepage, New York Times, the U.S. officials had a secret Saudi oil deal, or so they thought. That's a shame. Connected headline: Democrats grew furious at the Saudis' move to cut oil production, seeing it as an attempt to meddle in a U.S. election. Okay, well, how does this stuff connect? Well, you know, energy, global politics. Really, what the part of the world model that this connects to most directly, is H5, Hypothesis 5, civil war in the United States, meddling in the election, U.S. politics. We've also got the BNR part of the world model, blue and red politics, which falls under. Oh, what does it fall under? See, I've got these things layered poorly. Blue and red politics. Where did I put that? How was that not jumping out at me? Well, this is embarrassing. Talk amongst yourselves, if you will. Blue and red politics is where? It's not, strategic intelligence. Yeah. Multipolar. So blue and red, it just arises from one-on-one game theory. Okay, so we're talking the Saudis playing games, we're playing games, we're mad at the Saudis for Khashoggi, and then suddenly Ukraine, and we need oil to lower, the Biden administration wants gas prices to come down. It's part of the big inflation picture that's getting everybody all anxious, and I mean, I'm not trying to minimize it. It's huge. It's crazy inflation, and one of the things that is most obvious in an inflation situation is the price of energy and fuel. That's what's going on there, and then it connects to the Civil War, meddling in U.S. politics. Fine. Oz and Fetterman tangle in debate with Senate control on the line. More U.S. politics, more blue and red politics, game theory, strategic intelligence. That's where it lands in world model number 4. Another political story, Representative Lee Zeldin and Governor Kathy Hochul. I don't know how to pronounce their names. Sparred over abortion and crime in the New York governor debate. Here are 5 takeaways. Abortion and crime. These are very U.S. Civil War-y. No, I make it sound like this is where we're going, Civil War, because we have politics. Totally false. But the real concern, and there's a real concern in this country that there is significant risk of civil war. I think I've heard like the majority in some polls expect it at this point. So that's what we're getting here with these headlines in the New York Times. On the culture and opinion side, the Try Guys, I've heard of them. I don't know anything about them. And the prison of online fame. Ooh, I might be working myself into a prison here because I'm sure I'll be famous from doing this. This is what success looks like in the creator economy. Well, I'm definitely part of the creator economy. Retrace is definitely part of that. Sometimes you have to beg millions of fans for mercy. I'm not begging for your mercy. I don't care what sort of foot in my mouth stuff I say. I'm not doing it. But I don't know what happened with these guys. Maybe their situation is not so simple. Thomas Friedman, good old Thomas Friedman. Putin is on to us. And Jill Bolt Taylor, what everyone should know about the brain's ability to heal. All right. How does this stuff connect to the world model? I mean, just going back to the top of the show, this will tell you a lot about what people are talking about, not necessarily what's going on out there, but not the part of what's going on out there that is sort of public conversation. That's a lot of what the news is. Okay. Fox News, fracking flip-flop, Fetterman stumbles during debate when pressed on support for key Pennsylvania voter issue. That's different than when I looked at it a minute ago. They tried different headlines. It was something about, it was about fracking, but maybe it's not different, but I only looked at it like half an hour ago. On the left sidebar, you've got a lot of Tucker Carlson stuff. Well, Tucker Carlson is one of them. Senator Ron Johnson responds to hometown newspaper calling him an election denier. I'd be interested to know presumably he's not saying yep, but I don't know. Jesse Waters, do you get the feeling the president is on a leash? Yeah, like what? Who was it that some comedian said that one of the it's probably the case that the first thing that they show the president when he's brought into office is a view of the Kennedy assassination from an angle nobody's seen before, nobody's ever seen in public. That idea that the presidents are way more constrained. U.S. presidents are way more constrained than they seem. They have tons of power, of course, but just the things we know about, they can't just run around doing whatever they want. But anyway, is he on a leash? That's I don't know. Aren't they all to some extent? Maybe not. I don't know. President Biden rejects Russia's dirty bomb claims. That's Ukraine. So how does this, so far, what have we got? Again, like what I see on the homepage, other things on Fox News homepage, kid you not, Democrat Whitmer, Michigan, Governor Whitmer, says students were only out of school for 3 months, talking about COVID. Tables are turned. Biden celebrates big business moving to state he once supported boycotting. This is all mostly politics, right? Like we're getting a countdown to the election day, blah, blah, blah. Okay, blue and red politics, strategic intelligence, perhaps the risk of U.S. civil war. That's what I'm seeing here. Those are the most direct connections to the world model. Let's jump over to the Financial Times. Just making sure I put this on the screen. Yeah, we're good. Alphabet sends tremor through digital ads sector as growth slows. Growth slow. Now, that's, and that's on the Wall Street Journal page as well. Google shares fall as YouTube search ads take hit. YouTube and search ads take hit. Yeah, that's a big deal. One thing that Chomsky said once about the business press is that and it makes perfect sense, but I hadn't heard it before he said it, and I heard it like 20 years ago. I don't know where he said it. He probably says it in half the books because he repeats himself a lot in his books, like a lot. You could cut the books down to a third and you wouldn't lose any information. That's not fair of me. I need to not talk trash. But he said that the business press has to be it must, and he's not the only one who says this. The business press has to be more accurate and true to what's going on in the world, because there's more at stake, and the people who have things at stake, the people with money, assets in various forms, and cash to win or lose, if you're offering them a picture of what's going on in the world and you get it wrong, even once, let alone on a regular basis, you're just not going to have a readership. Not at least from the people you want. And the New York Times, the Financial Times is, depending on when you subscribe and how you do it, it's between $300 and $500 a year, and you still get ads, right? So it's not it's for the upper crust. It's for people, but also the people like me who pay for it, on and off over the years, just because I want to know. So these people, most of them, have money at stake. You can't get the wrong answer over and over again, maybe even not even once. In the business press, same thing applies to the Wall Street Journal, Australian Financial Review. These papers have to be serious. Okay, so that makes it sound like the other stuff doesn't have to be serious, but it's a different game. Okay, generalist news, low subscription price or no subscription, all ads basis is very different from the business press. We'll leave it at that. Subhead for this screaming headline is Google parent Alphabet vows to sharpen focus after results fall short of Wall Street expectations. Growth is an interesting thing in business. I'm not going to talk about it here. Go over to margin. We'll talk about it someday. It's tough. A lot of people see it as like the root of all evil in a capitalist economy, capitalist market-based economy. It's a complicated thing. They can't grow forever, right? And in some sense, you're either growing or you're dying. There's no in between. Anyway, that's what's going on here. The same thing happened with Netflix when their subscriber count, it either plateaued or it fell after the pandemic. And man, their share price fell off a cliff. So Alphabet's might be hitting a ceiling on what they can do with YouTube ads, and Wall Street Journal says it's YouTube and search. So that's their moneymaker. That's everything. Bread and butter for them. Pakistan, it's the fault of climate change. Pakistan seeks justice after floods. Another headline over on the right-hand side, actually an interview with TSMC, somebody from chip startup pushes into Taiwan in quest for ever smaller chips. Chip startup is not TSMC. TSMC is the major global economic impact if there's a Chinese invasion of Taiwan, because they do chips way better than most of the most difficult chips are made by TSMC. Is the simple way of putting it. And so if there's a Chinese invasion of Taiwan and anything happens to TSMC, the whole world's going to feel it. Sort of, it'll be like a COVID of the economy, if that makes any sense, is what I understand. Xi's men, why China's new Politburo has spooked markets. And there's a point where Hu Jintao is escorted out of the meeting right after the press get there. They kind of almost drag him out. I mean, they don't drag him, but he does not want to be leaving that meeting. And one opinion writer for, I think it was the FT, said that we're never going to find out what that was about, but we were meant to see it. Anyway. Okay, so we're talking big business, super big business in Alphabet. And how does that connect to the world model? We're talking, again, strategic intelligence, game theory, groups cooperating for and against each other. And we're also talking about artificial intelligence, which is computer control. Google is currently the undisputed leader in artificial intelligence. They own DeepMind. They have Google Brain. They're way out ahead on computer science in general. All that disappears without the money. And it's serious money that they've made and serious margins. They don't just make a lot of money, they make insane profits. But there are companies that are more profitable. Can I rattle them off the top of my head? No. Like this Fortune 500, I forgot who's in the top 10 and 15 of that right now. That's on me. Okay, so we're talking about artificial intelligence and strategic intelligence. Are we talking about natural intelligence? I need to enunciate strategic intelligence. Are we talking about natural intelligence as well? Yeah, of course. I mean, we're reading a newspaper about it. People are going to do things about this headline. And then are we talking about nature and nature not effing around? Not in that headline, but definitely in the Pakistan climate change justice headline. And then, China and Taiwan, I haven't really done a hypothesis on them yet, but it's coming. That's the TSMC / chip startup in Taiwan situation, as well as Xi's new Politburo. Wall Street Journal, we've already talked about. Google shares fall as YouTube search ads take hit. Google reported its 5th consecutive quarter of slowing sales growth as weakness in the economy continues to damp online advertising spending. Shares fell more than 6% after hours. We should also think about the U.S. economy and its connection to the risk of a civil war this decade. People can't afford things or can't make money. That makes everybody a bit more cranky. I don't mean to make light of it, but we gotta. All right. Intel prices IPO for self-driving car unit Mobileye. Intel prices IPO. I thought they said pricing above, right? I thought it said above earlier. Huh? The offering raised $861 million by selling 41 million shares, valuing the unit at roughly $17 billion. Okay, self-driving cars, artificial intelligence. That's cybernetic, Turing machine cybernetics. That's where that falls into World Model 4. FTX is raising fresh cash in part for acquisitions. Russian oligarchs obscure wealth through secretive Isle of Man network. The web of shell companies and middlemen managed by services from Bridgewaters makes it hard for authorities to track assets and enforce sanctions. That's Ukraine related. We've talked a little bit about Ukraine. The risk of global thermonuclear war is there. It's very real. It's more real with the Ukraine-NATO conflict, Russia-Ukraine-NATO conflict than it has been decades, probably since the Cuban Missile Crisis, depending on how you look at it. Of course, all strategic intelligence, World Model 4 strategic intelligence right there, no questions asked. House Democrats retract Ukraine letter after backlash. That's U.S. blue and red politics. Oz Fetterman clash in Pennsylvania's sole Senate debate. U.S. blue and red politics. And we got some opinion stuff, how China abuses U.S. diplomats. Okay, Kanye did something. He's done something. He's all, okay, we'll get Kanye. Adidas ends partnership with Kanye West. Gap pulls Yeezy products. Is Yeezy his brand? Kanye is in the news, but I just am not as up to date. He's right here on the BBC page as well, Kanye. Adidas cuts Kanye West ties over anti-Semitism. Okay, he must have said something anti-Semitic. Oh yeah, he said something like, I'm going to go off on the Jews or something. Come on. Oh, geez. Yeah. Okay. Like, why? All right. Sunak, that's the new prime minister. This is the BBC homepage now. Sunak, is that how you pronounce it? I haven't heard his name pronounced yet. Appoints. He's like a Goldman guy, and he did a lot of hedge fund stuff. He's got, I think, Oxford and Stanford, or Cambridge and Stanford, and he's been, he's a finance guy. He appoints his new team. Sunak appoints a new team after becoming UK Prime Minister. Okay, that's the leading headline. The BBC, they're a little bit more UK centric and European centric, of course. Russian court rejects Brittany Griner appeal. She's the basketball player in Russia. Yeah, there's a lot of pawn moving in Russia versus. Really in global. China did it when the United States sort of had. One of the, was it Huawei? The guy's daughter, who was an executive at Huawei, was arrested in Canada. There were the two Toms or something that China arrested. Anyway, this is people's lives are handled as pawns on a chessboard in the what Brzezinski called the grand chessboard. That's what's happening to her. I'm not making light of it, but that's what that's about. Democrats retract call for Biden U-turn on Ukraine. The left wing of the Democratic Party said had published some letter, and then they didn't like the way it was being received, and so they retracted it, and now probably made it bigger news. Kim Jong-un upping the pressure. Yeah, he shot some missiles over Japan recently. The situation on the peninsula is its most volatile in years. Remember, the news is always trying to capture your attention, right? So on the one hand, companies have an interest in suppressing bad news about themselves, and the news has an interest in exaggerating it. So where do those two things meet? It's a case by case. That's the BBC. Okay, this is going long, so we're up at almost 20 minutes. Vice. cool picture. NASA's big UFO study has officially begun with an A-team of scientists. Okay, great. Big UFO study. There's a lot been happening in UFOs over the last 5 years, I'd say. Like stuff, it's being given more legitimate attention in the mainstream press. But man, there is nothing. I have not heard anything new about this topic that wasn't covered either by Richard Dolan or before that. Who's the guy? Oh, Flying Saucers, serious. This was Flying Saucers, serious business. What is his name? Hynek. No, not Hynek. Flying Saucers, serious. Oh no, Flying Saucers are real. That's the one. Who was that? Kehoe. Read Kehoe's first book, and it's like the whole thing was there. There's nothing new in UFOs or aliens or anything since then. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. There's a lot of like underground stuff, but in terms of like the general cultural story of what that's all, what that could be about or what it is about, I don't see anything new since Kehoe. The only thing I see is Richard Dolan's two-volume history, where he basically, through the Freedom of Information Act, pulled out a lot of documents that really seem to suggest something's going on. It doesn't, what the something is open to interpretation. There's no smoking gun, because everything that seems like it could be, oh, they've got the ship or they've got the aliens or they're here or something, could also be designed to seem that way. The whole thing could be designed to seem that way. So a lot of people think the whole thing is a disinformation campaign by the intelligence organizations. Chief among them CIA, NSA, who knows? Okay, but now the NASA's going to use their telescopes and figure it out. That's excellent. He blessed LGBTQ people at a festival. Now he's no longer a pastor. Okay, I don't know. It's not interesting to me. American Terror Podcast, Tales from the Territories. Looks like a wrestling podcast or a wrestling story. Vice in your inbox. I got enough in my inbox. You can now become Twitter's main character for literally anything. You can now become Twitter's main character for literally anything. I got to stop this podcast. I can't believe it. I'm going to go do that. What is Twitter's main character? NASA kicked off a study. We already talked about that. The basketball player. People who identify as gamers more prone to racist, sexist behavior, according to a study. And you can't always meditate your way through mental health. Okay. How does this stuff connect to the world model? We're talking about strategic intelligence again, and natural intelligence. If there are, UFOs, if UFOs are really anything other than a disinformation campaign or glimpses of technology we're not aware of that's human based, man, I'm gonna have to put so much stuff in the notes. We could be talking about strategic and natural intelligence at the same time, and then also nature being physics and not effing around, because they clearly know some physics that we do not know. All right, TMZ. What do we got? I never have read TMZ. Sylvester Stallone and Jennifer Flavin run errands together, buy hair product. Holy crap. That's amazing. Claire's Spooktacular Halloween looks to celebrate her B-Day. Who? Not Claire. Sierra. It's Sierra. Kanye West loses billionaire status after Adidas terminates deal. Oh, that's interesting. For the third time. See Vanessa Huggins. I can't pronounce any of these names. Freaky white swan costume. Russell Wilson pours heart out in birthday post for Sierra. Okay, who's Sierra? I've never heard that one. I know Kanye. Antonio Brown issues support for Kanye West, claims selective outrage over comments. And, okay, well, this is just mostly like people who are not reading the other sources. They might know what's going on with this stuff. They'll be talking about it. And that's nothing to sneeze at. First, nothing to sneeze at? I don't know. That's nothing to dismiss. 24 minutes. This is too long. Because humans are the most interesting thing on the earth. And if 99% of them are talking about stuff that you don't think is worth talking about, that in itself is interesting. And also you need to know what they're talking about, because they're in charge, not you. Like the majority ultimately tends to be in charge when it comes to human beings. So Kanye and Stallone and Sierra, maybe. All right, enough. This has been Retrace segment number 29. Full PDF notes will be on our website, You can get to it via the RSS feed or however you're consuming this. No follow-ups, amendments, or corrections. See you again around midnight. Signing off.